to get at these questions. Got some good questions here. These questions are from you Instagram followers. This is pretty cool. Several good ones, way more than I can keep up with. I'm going to plan on, for now, these other ones that I've got that I'm not going to be answering on here. You'll see them in the Q&As on the new website. So there's going to definitely be some times where I post Q&As to the Ask Dud section. Um, but for now, let's get into a few of these subjects. So let's see. First subject, first question actually is have I shot the new Prime Synergy bow and what do I think about it? I haven't shot it. Sorry about that. But I've got some friends that use them and like them. So I think Prime's making a good bow, and there's some good shooters, and definitely some of my old friends that are using them and enjoying them. So if you're a Prime person, then definitely worth heading to a shop and giving it a try. I haven't personally tried it, but like I said, I do have some friends that I know are trustworthy that have told me that they liked it. So next question here is from Collins_77. He's actually got two questions back to back, so I'll just answer them both. They look pretty quick. First question is, are you going to be at the Red Deer Valley shoot this year in Canada? I really, really wish that I could, because I enjoy that shoot. If any of you are up in Canada listening right now, I can tell you there's two shoots that you must do. The first shoot is going to be the Red Deer Valley shoot. Super important to do that one. And then the next shoot that you need to do is, just going to look right here. I'm going to see if I can find the flyer actually and read it out to you, because my good buddy Jamie, here we go. Let's see. My good buddy Jamie just, so that the second annual Red Deer Valley shoot, it's a marked 3D shoot. It was actually a format that I had worked with them on doing, and it's June 10th and 11th up in Red Deer, Alberta, and it's at the Canyon Ski Resort, and it's hosted by Wolverine Archery Center. So if you want to get involved with that, make sure you contact Wolverine Archery and make sure you get registered. This is a really fun shoot. You can camp. Great people, really, really good friends up there. It's a super fun shoot, beautiful place, good food, definitely some fun nightlife festivities. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be there, so pretty much sucks. If it would have been the weekend before that, I would have been okay. Well, actually, originally I would have been okay, but now I'm not going to be okay, because I might as well just do some dates, archery dates. So I've got a few things that all of you, if you want to see me, there's a few things you're going to be able to see me for. That weekend, June 10th and 11th, you're not going to be able to see me, because I'm going to be with some of my friends on a Hawaiian island chasing around furry animals and enjoying some family time and some barbecue time. But the weekend before that, write this down, everybody, 1 month from now, I will be in Austin, Texas. I'm going to be doing several events specifically for the Yeti flagship store. So we're going to be doing a Yeti flagship store. We're going to have more details are going to come, but just mark it down on your calendar. June, I believe it's going to be 3rd. We're going to open it up to people that come in as a customer appreciation for Archery Country. My really good buddies there at Archery Country, amazing shop, great shop for all bow brands. But we're going to do a cool event, and they're going to be able to bring in some of their loyal customers to a private seminar with me, which is going to be cool. I'm going to do that as a favor back to Brendan. Awesome guy, great shop, and anytime I can support a really good archery shop, I'm going to. So, yep, I'll be in Austin Friday the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Then, let's see, the next dates is I will be coaching at the World Archery Excellence Center in Switzerland. Those dates are, hold on, people, I'll tell you momentarily. Tentatively, we're going to be doing a training day for compound archers, training weekend. It's a 3-day seminar, Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday at the World Archery Excellence Center in Lausanne. It's going to be the 7th, 8th, and 9th. So it's pretty much going to be a full seminar with shooting, tuning form, mental, physical. We're going to do the whole thing. It's going to be a legit training session. And then the following Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will be doing a coaching workshop and coaching seminar for Olympic coaches and national team coaches. If you're interested in that, you need to actually contact the World Archery Excellence Center. Juan Carlos is going to be organizing, so go to www.worldarcherycenter.org and you can sign up. I know that with the national teams that are already booked in, space is going to get limited really fast. But if you're interested, make sure you come. It's going to be a good time, no doubt about it. Let's see, getting into the next question here. Brad81MX is asking, is acetone okay to remove glue from carbon shafts? Yeah, it is. You just don't want to soak it in there. Sometimes people do like acetone baths where they actually just put their arrows upside down in a jar of acetone for a long time. And there does come a point where you'll start to break that carbon or the resin down if you leave it in there too long. So I would recommend not going crazy with it. Probably the best thing you can do is buy what's called a zip strip tool. Zip strip tools, they're a little tool, really cool, super easy to remove fletching, glue or vinyl. Funny enough, they're made, it's kind of dished out so that it can ride along the shaft. But what I found, amazingly enough, is if you flip it upside down, it actually works better. But it's a great little tool for removing that. And the other thing I do is I always use Comet and a Scotch pad, and then I'll put some Comet on that Scotch pad, put a little bit of water on there, and then just really scrub down that shaft and rinse it off well. You'll see, I mean, the water will almost bead differently off the shaft when you run your water on it. You'll be able to see, if you're kind of moving the shaft under the water spigot, you'll be able to see the area where you've cleaned it properly and where it still has oil on there from where you touched it. So that works really, really well. So don't be afraid to ruin the shaft. Just be smart about not dunking it in there forever. And honestly, that's another reason why I'm a big advocate of vinyl. I know some people don't like vinyl because they don't want to have to redo the entire thing as soon as they take one vein off. But honestly, if you shoot a vein off and you need to replace a vein, this little tool right here, you can actually slide this tool and just pull one vein off. And if you needed to, you could always do a little patch job on there just to get you by. So, and good vinyl, I think, is important. I think it saves the integrity of your arrow. And honestly, with the right tool, removing it isn't a problem at all. It's easy to remove, and you know, you're gonna save your arrow shaft. You're gonna prevent carbon from going in your hand. Um, Giving a wave to everyone that's watching here on the broadcast. So let's see. Moving on to the next question. This is from Top Climber 9. He's saying, "What's wrong with my setup? I'm a 29-inch draw, shoot 65 pounds, but I can't shoot further than 68 yards without contact on my scope housing. I've seen other people with sight tapes out to over 100 yards with the same draw weight and draw length as me." So, yeah, hey, there's a couple things here. Either one, you're shooting a super, super heavy arrow like this one that I built yesterday. I built this arrow last night, another arrow that I was building out of curiosity. I did some math yesterday on arrows. I'll get into that in a minute, but this arrow is 700 grains, and funny enough, with that arrow, the most I could get on my scale was 68 yards. So if you're shooting a heavy arrow like that, a really heavy arrow, your arc is certainly going to be slow enough to where you're not going to be able to achieve it. However, let's factor out the strong possibility you're not shooting a 700 grain arrow. And the most common thing that's going to be relating to that is the fact that your anchor point is too high. And if your anchor point's too high, then what happens is your peep is lower in your string. And the lower your peep is in your string, the lower your sight is going to have to be on your scale in order for you to look through that properly. So if you're the type of person that pulls back and you like to kind of put I'm assuming you have a wrist strap, but if you have a wrist strap and you're kind of coming to an anchor more on the side of your ear, then your peep is going to be low in that string. Honestly, most people are going to have a peep sight. In a lot of the hunting bows now, peep sights are going to be somewhere around that 6-inch mark. When you anchor properly, when you're holding your release aid, you've got a separation between your index finger and your middle finger. That separation needs to go on your jaw line. So if you're on that jaw line with your separation, then you're gonna, when you look at a picture of yourself, your arrow shaft is gonna be sitting right in the safe zone of your face, which is between your lips and your chin bone. It's gonna be right into that concave safe spot of your face. And if it's there, then unless you have a wacky shaped head, the distance from where that arrow is to the average person's eye is going to be about 6 inches. It's going to be 4 inches if you measure it full draw. Now, this is another valid point that's important for people. Earlier we had someone ask, have I shot one bow? And I said, no, I hadn't shot it. But let's just say I've got a bow that I'm shooting right now. I love it. It's shooting really good, but I want to get a new one, and I want to make sure it feels the same as fast as possible. Then what's important, or an important measurement for you guys to know is, and this really helps if you have a shooting machine, but you can come to full draw and have someone measure that. But if you come to full draw and you have someone measure from the center of the arrow shaft in a vertical plane straight up to the center of the peep sight. So in other words, when you're at full draw, your string is making a triangle, but instead of following the string all the way down to the top of the nocking point, actually go from the peep sight straight down to the center of the shaft. And that measurement, which is essentially the measurement from your eyes straight down to the safe part of your face, that measurement is going to always be the same for you regardless of what axle to axle length your bow is. So if you have a bow that has a long axle to axle length, what happens is when you come to full draw, the string angle isn't near as sharp, so your peep will actually be at a lower position when the bow is at rest, and it'll still be in the correct position when it's at full draw. However, if you shoot a shorter bow, like for example, if I went from shooting my target bow to shooting, say, a 31-inch Pro Defiant, that string angle, the triangle at full draw, is much sharper. So what happens is, because it's sharper, when I let the bow down, my peep is actually higher in the string when the bow is at rest. But when I pull back and that triangle pinches down, the peep comes back down to the same level, at full draw as it would with any bow. So knowing that measurement from your peep straight down to the center of your shaft at full draw is a really, really important measurement for you to have. And if you're comfortable with your shooting, it's great to be able to go get a bow, set the draw length exactly where you want it to, pull that bow back with an arrow on it on a shooting machine, and go ahead and just measure from your shaft straight up to where it meets the string. And if you know that measurement, you can mark it and put your peep in right there. And regardless of the height of your peep at full, or when the bow is at rest, it will be in the correct spot when it's at full draw. My measurement's 4 inches, just barely under 4 inches. So whether I'm shooting, well, to give you an example, when I shot a 30-inch, I shot a 30-inch Alpha Max one year, just because that was the first bow that they had available at the time coming out of the factory. My peep height was like 6.5 inches when the bow was at rest. When I measured from the top of the Nock straight up to the center of the peep, it was 6.5 inches. However, when I look at like my target bows, for example, my Prevail, my peep sits at about 5.75 inches. But again, when they both come to full draw, my distance from the peep straight down to the center of the shaft is just under 4 inches. So with your issue, you're going to need to make sure you take a good look at a picture of yourself. This will be pretty quick. If you look and your arrow shaft is like level with your lips, then I can just tell you right off the bat, your peep sight is too low in your string, and that's why your sight is having to start out so low as well. So, and the other thing too is, some sights have a massive housing, and the pins don't get to go all the way close down to the bottom of the housing, and that kind of sucks because it does give up some of your range. So I would say watch out for that. You want to have a sight that allows you to move that bottom pin as low as possible. The other thing too is, and this guy's really got terrible form. Yesterday, my buddy Ryan Broncos sent me this picture of an ad from Buckle Jeans, and I'm trying to show everyone watching this picture. I can't really. But oh man, it sucks. I can't show them. It's not focusing on it. But anyway, this guy has form that's beyond terrible. He's got his hand way up. His anchor point is literally level with his eye, almost like he's shooting a bare bow, and he's kind of looking down the top of the arrow shaft. So if that guy had a sight on his bow, it would definitely have to be sitting on the top of his arrow shaft. So take a look at that, and that's one good thing. Once the new website is fully functional, if you were a gold or a platinum member, you would be able to have your pictures of yourself just in your profile. So if by chance you were one of the people that got your question drawn and I was to answer it right now, I would be pulling your picture up and telling you exactly what you could do to fix that problem. So I appreciate it, dude. Thank you for sending the question for sure. And yeah, I think get that peep sight a little higher in the string, get your anchor point a little bit lower, or preferably just in the correct place, and you're going to be really good to go. Let's see, I'm going to get back, try to find the next question here. The next question is from C. Davis, the third, or Triple I. Can you use a shooting machine to set your sight tape? Yeah, you can certainly use a shooting machine to set your sight tape as long as you're actually sighting down your shooting machine the same way as how you would look through and center your scope within your peep sight. So in other words, it's important whenever you're making a scale that you always make a perfect eclipse with your peep and your aiming housing. You don't want to, sometimes people can make a small little mistake. If they've got there's front scope housing. Let's just say, I'm kind of showing people here live. Let's just say you've got your scope housing and you're trying to center. I really like it to where I can just barely start to not see the bottom edge of my bubble with the bottom edge of my peep, and then I really check my left and right framing by, on my particular bow, when my cable guard flexes in, my cables sit just on the right edge of my scope. So if I can see my cables, or if all of a sudden I can't see my cables, I know my left and right is definitely off. But on the bottom, all I do is I make sure when I'm framing, I pay attention to the very bottom edge, and I make sure that I can just see just a hint of daylight under my level. And then what happens is, if I start to, sometimes if I shoot longer distance, it's easy to start falling out of your peep, like where your peep starts to come low. They call it falling out of your peep just because you're trying to aim at a different plane, so your peep a lot of times starts to creep down and you start to have more space underneath. And essentially what you're doing when you change your framing with your peep sight, you're actually moving your aiming point high or low, so you don't get a true reading. So if you're going to use a shooting machine to sight in, you got to look through your peep, make sure you have perfect framing where the pin is in the center of the target, and then go ahead and squeeze that shot off. Get your 20, and then work your way out. I personally like to get a 20 and an 80, and then I find a scale that matches perfectly between there. And it works really, really well. I actually sighted in 2 bows yesterday out to 100 yards, and I started out by I actually got a 20, then I got a 60. I printed a scale, went to 80. One of them, the scale was off by about a yard, so I put a new scale on. 20, 80 were both dead on, so then I went to 100, and it's right on the money. So yeah, you can use it. It's probably better to use it because you can keep your bow at full draw and really do that framing properly, and you're gonna have much more accurate marks that way. So Scuba Steve M8 is asking, once you anchor to the jawline, does your hand slide along your jaw to break the shot, or is it completely fixed? So this is actually I'm going to let you guys see this. Fingers crossed. It's actually Friday right now. I didn't get to finish this podcast up yesterday morning. I got so busy. But it's actually Friday morning here for this part 2. So fingers crossed we're able to kind of flip the switch on part of the beta versions tonight. Like I said, everyone out there with the new site, make sure you guys bear with us. It's going to take us time to continually load. There's certain features that are just getting built every day. Different galleries and the ability for me to start loading photos in galleries and for me to start loading videos. All these little things that are kind of part of this beta. Again, I'm launching the beta about a month earlier than when we're going to be able to really go live and start letting everyone interact. but I want people to kind of get familiar with it. But in my profile, I have a picture that is a slow motion of me shooting a silverback release, actually. And I want you guys to pay attention to that. You can go to my profile within the new site and look at my pictures. There's pictures of me in my shooting stance, my broadside, close up of my face, close up of my grip, close up of my feet, and then there's a slow motion of me coming through my shot. And what you'll notice is, as soon as my finger comes off the safety and comes around, you'll notice that my hand position never changes, even in slow motion. The hand stays perfectly solid, and the motion of me coming through my shot is a motion that's activated by pulling that elbow towards the wall behind me, using the center muscles, the rhomboid muscles in my back, minor muscles. It's slow and smooth, pulling through till the shot breaks, and you'll see that my follow through is actually following the angle of my jawline, and that's simply because I am trying to keep those fingers on that jawline as I'm pulling through. Now, one thing, the other day when I was coaching Justin, I sensed some hesitation and a little bit of manipulation when he was working his hinge release. A lot of people have the same issue. They really want to know, how do I work a hinge release? And hinge releases can be manipulated a lot of ways. I think there's certainly people that are going to get along better with a hinge than other releases, just when it comes to the surprise shot. But in Justin's case, and in a lot of people's cases, especially when you start to use a clicker, as soon as that click happens, that you're actually at a point where you can make the shot happen if you want. And with Justin, I kind of just said, dude, can I just get you on a silverback? I know you like this release, but honestly, I mean, there's like little demons in your head. I can see them kind of in the glaze of your eye. I can see those little suckers in there thinking about anticipation, and we need to squash those while we can. So, we got him into a silverback, and he shot it good, but he was almost trying to make it happen too fast. And this is one thing that I really want to get a video out for those of you shooting a silverback. Those releases teach you so much. If you're someone that wants the quick placebo, then you're going to end up selling that release after a few days, because you're going to shoot it and you're going to expect to immediately change. And it's just like anything. I've got a few pounds I want to lose right now. There's nothing I'm going to do to burn fat in 5 days. I mean, this is a 3 or 4 week process. That's just how it works. Nothing good comes that quick. So, you need to be patient with it, and you really need to learn how to keep that hand rigid and keep that pull slow and continual. And I actually told Justin the same thing. I said, hey, you've got the slow motion video for my profile. Just go watch it several times, look through, and envision yourself doing that same thing. And I said, getting a shot to fire and getting a shot to activate, it's a lot. I referred to it because he told me that his daughter's getting to the age where she's going to start driving. I said, when you first teach your kid how to drive, you're kind of always bracing yourself, like at the stops and the starts, of slightly accelerating until you're going the speed. And I said, it's like that. It's like when your kid is driving and they finally ease up to a stop sign and the car stops, and then it starts going, and you're up to the speed that you wanted to be at without you having to rock forward when they hit the brakes or jolt back. And the same's true with your shot. You want to be able to draw back, and you want to have enough control and feeling to where when you hit that wall, you're kind of coming into that wall without banging against the back of the wall. You want to come into it, you want to hit the wall, you want to have a little bit of preload there, you want to make sure that you're on the wall, but you don't want to be pulling so hard on it to where it's gonna, it's like pulling way back on a rubber band and a paper clip and freaking letting that thing launch. You kind of want to do it gradual, and then once you let off the safety, that's a lot like being stopped at the stop sign already. You don't want to just jam on the gas, which is probably a bad example because I drive a Ram and I like to jam on the gas all the time. But if I was, if I had Harry in the car, I'd want him to, let his foot off the accelerator. The car's going to start moving, and then slowly easing that down and continually building and accelerating until that shot breaks on its own. So there's a fine line there. You don't, just because you let off the safety doesn't mean you have to let off the safety and, I'm on the dot, I got to get it to go. I mean, that's not what you want. And people start to do that same thing with the hinge. Hinges aren't target panic proof either, or anticipation proof. Hinges easily can be manipulated to, make them go off, especially if you have a clicker. If you have a clicker, then I can tell you right now, you're on the edge already, so you can make it fire whenever you want. That's why I'm not a big fan of the clicker. And actually, some very good archers that are on the circuit right now, I know that the flaws in their shots have come from the fact that they started shooting clickers, and it's definitely a problem. See, a lot of archers, even good ones, will have a period of time where they're shooting a trigger release really well, and then all of a sudden a little anticipation sneaks in, and that anticipation slips in, and next thing you know, they're kind of getting after the trigger a little bit. So then they switch to a hinge release, and with the hinge release, they're worried about it firing when they don't want it to, so they decide to shoot it with a clicker so that they have a safety built in. The problem is the clicker is telling you, it's an identifier of when it's going to go off. I mean, imagine having a caliper release to where you could squeeze the trigger until it clicked, and then as soon as you move 1/1000ths more, that thing's going to fire. If we put clickers in wrist strap releases, there would definitely be some serious target panic going on, because everybody would be squeezing on that trigger till it clicked and then just being ready to rip it. And for a few people, it'd probably work good, but for the majority of us, it would be a death trap to go down that road. So follow your jawline, slow build, let off the safety, and just really think about that image that I told you of teaching your kid to accelerate without wanting to rip my neck back when you jam on the gas. Learning that accelerator to where you can push on it just enough to where you're not feeling a jolt. That's really what you want with the silverback. And if you can get that going, then you're gonna do really, really well. Let's see. Anthony Null is asking. He wants to hear more stories from the competition days. Well, yesterday during the live feed, I did a live feed in the backyard. It might not have been yesterday. It might have been 2 days ago. It was actually a good one too. It was a really good one, and Justin didn't realize you can save videos now that are on Instagram. So after we ended it, he didn't hit the save button, so it's gone forever. But I told the story, and I can't say who it is because he's a valuable archer to our community. But we were at an ASA shoot. There's a group of us, and I'm trying to think who was there, and it may have been Step, but um, my one buddy, he he was shooting really good, but he was missing all these like I think the first like 7 targets. We had to get down and call these things out, and they were close, but they were out. But every one of them, it was one of those days where every one of them we had to look, and you could tell he was getting mad. And he was shooting a caliper release at the time. I think he was shooting a Scott Concho, the rubber molded ones. So he was definitely punching it, and he got so mad you could just see it beating up in his eyes. And I said, sorry man, that thing's out. And he freaking ripped that arrow out of that target, and I mean, he was pissed. And he went storming to the next target. I mean, he walked back to his shooting stool from that target. He ripped his arrow out, went back to the shooting stool. And this is impressive actually, but it grabbed his shooting stool and was just literally stomping to the target that was next. Got to that target, just threw his stool down, never even picked his binoculars up. He looked down there, and I remember this was a long shot. It was at least like 43 or 44 yards, but he just freaking threw his stool down, grabbed an arrow, put it on the thing. He literally just looked up at the target and just slid his sight down. I'm talking didn't hesitate 3 seconds to judge or to even look where the 12 was. And he just freaking ripped that bow back, kind of how I told you to not do it, and just came into that peep and just slammed that trigger. And before the arrow even hit the target, he just turned around and he said, call that mother effer out. And I mean, he hit the exact dead center of that 12 ring. It was so perfect, but I'm not kidding. He actually, before that arrow was even at the target, he literally turned to the whole group and said, call that mother effer out. And I mean, talk about calling your shot, not to mention just letting it show if you just have your natural instincts take over. I mean, he went to a target, didn't even look at it, didn't even judge it, just literally looked up at it and thought, it's 43 yards. He knew where the 12 ring was, just ripped back and punched that sucker right in there. So just goes to show you, confidence can do a lot. He was confident that he was going to get that one, but it was a good story, and I'd say his name, but he works for someone reputable, and they might not like that he swore. I always got in trouble if I swore. I will tell you guys, so the arrow I decided to go with for my hunting bow is I'm gonna shoot this 6mm Easton Axis. It's the Under Armour one. It looked pretty cool. It's got the Ridge Reaper camo in the center of the shaft. I'm shooting one of my new wraps that I've got. Pretty cool wrap, kind of psychedelic when you spin them. I'm shooting the Nock on Max Stealth Vein Nocturnal Nock, and then I'll be shooting 100 grain Rage Trypan, but I've got brass. I went with the brass inserts. And this arrow is shooting really, really good. Yesterday I was shooting it to 100 yards, and I was super happy. But one thing I want to say, I was talking about a setup that I was working on for Rogan. Since the first half of this podcast, I actually have continued to work on this arrow and build different configurations. This arrow that I'm working on now is actually 697 grains. And funny enough, I was trying to just try different arrows. So his standard arrow, I'll give you a little bit of math, and this is pretty cool. So his standard arrow is an Easton Axis 300, and his arrow weighs 493 grains. His standard Easton Axis, which is a great, almost 500 grains is a good weight for an arrow, right? So with that arrow, 500 grain arrow, he's shooting 273 feet per second. Now keep in mind Joe's draw length is pretty short. It's 28 inches, his draw length. So he's shooting a 493 grain at 273 feet per second. He's got 81.57 foot-pounds, and his momentum is 0.598 slugs. Now, that's the normal arrow that he's shooting. Again, 273 feet per second. But get this. If he shoots this 700 grain arrow, shoots a 700 grain arrow at 235 feet per second. The 235 feet per second arrow has a kinetic energy of 85.82, and the momentum is 0.73 slugs. So it's noticeably, the momentum is great. It's awesome, even though it's that much slower. I mean, that's dramatically slower, right? 40 feet per second. However, the in-between, the 700 grain arrow is actually a 250 spine with a full 75 grains up in the front. Now, what I did was I worked with a couple other arrows, and I actually settled on a Easton Axis Dangerous Game 300 with 50 grains of brass. And with that arrow, it's 622 grains. So it's about 125 grains more than his other arrow. And that arrow is shooting 82.89 foot-pounds with a momentum of 0.67. So when we look at momentum and how that arrow is going to carry through an object, the faster arrow, the 273 feet per second, 493 grain arrow, is shooting a 0.598. The middle arrow is shooting a 0.67, and the heavy 700 grain arrow is shooting a 0.73. So just the reason I went with the middle one is because that 700 grain arrow, I could only get about 60 yards, and that was max. Now with the 600 and something grain arrow, we're able to shoot about 90 yards still, which I know Joe really enjoys shooting longer distance simply because he really likes to magnify mistakes and be able to, one, it's funner. There's two things that make archery funner: a lighted nock and longer distance. Put the two things together and it looks like something out of Braveheart or Gladiator, and it's cool. The only thing that could be better is if targets were super cheap and we could light them on fire when we hit them. That would be the only thing that would make it cooler. So yeah, I think saying that, we're pretty much ready to wrap things up. I think I'm going to show the viewers, and again, this is one thing that's going to be cool for platinum members. Going to be able to, and I think gold members. I can't remember all these memberships right now, but you guys are going to be able to, starting June 2nd, you're going to be able to watch these podcasts. You can watch the private video version, as well as get the audio version. But the people that are on social media right now, I'm showing them a video. This is what my bag target does when that 700 grain arrow hits it right here. Oh, hold on, it's not working. But anyway, yeah, it just shakes. It literally swings across the whole room, and my fairly brand new bag target is no match for that 700 grain arrow. It's literally stopping just to. Yeah, well, thanks everybody for tuning in to another Knock On podcast. And I look forward to everyone checking out the site. And hey, make sure everyone remembers, in case I haven't said it already, this next week, immediately following this podcast, I'm going to be having to do some other commitments. So I'm actually not going to be able to be around to do much with the website during this week, which is also why we really looked at that June 2nd date, so that I'm going to be able to have commitment to it. But yeah, make sure you check out those dates. Oh, and when it comes to the Canada shoot, the one shoot I forgot to mention was my buddy Shane Jensen's, the Oilman shoot up in Canada. I think normally it's like that last weekend in May, and I can't go to that dang thing because it's Harry's graduation. Otherwise, that's an awesome shoot. If you're in Canada, Oilman shoot, Red Deer Valley shoot. Those two alone are the only two that you need to do. And if I were you and I lived in Canada, I would do the one shoot the one weekend. Then I would find a place to bear hunt in between, and then I would do that last shoot on that last weekend of bear season. And I think you're gonna have a good time. So appreciate everyone listening. Make sure you spread the word. Make sure you sign up for one of the memberships. You're gonna enjoy it. Hey everybody, what's going on? What's going on to all you people? I'm looking at, sorry I can't comment to you guys while you're talking to me. But yeah, early morning, getting some work done, doing a podcast. I should have this podcast loaded here fairly quick, dudes. So, yep, that's pretty much it. You guys want to see an experiment? I'll show you an experiment. I'm just gonna give you a quick little glance, but this will be things that my platinum members get to see. Is like that. Like that. Yeah, interesting indeed. It was I can't show you too much. It may never come to market, but we're definitely experimenting with things, so could be cool. Yeah, there should be next week. I've actually got some new products I'm super excited about. I want to share with you guys, but I'll probably wait till I get back. So if any of you are going to the Reading shoot, or if any of you are at the Reading shoot and you're awake 2 hours before it cracks daylight, good luck to you. If you're awake right now and you're at Reading, either you're diehard and you're getting your workout in, or you went to the Texas Roadhouse and had some of those freaking Texas Roadhouse iced teas, the Long Island style, and they will flat out put you on your back. If you have a bunch of those and hit that hot tub in the hotel right next door, and then eat a big steak, you're definitely going to be waking up with high blood pressure by about this time in the morning. So just looking at some of you guys. I don't know if we'll have signups ready, just so everyone knows. I don't know if we'll actually let people sign up for the website, because, and the reason is, I'm not comfortable taking anybody's money for that until everything is active. So all those features they're going to slowly become active between now and June 2nd. So we're going to let people kind of dabble around in there and stuff right now. And yeah, by June 2nd, you'll be able to make your decision on what you want to do. So everyone's gonna get kind of a little free sneak peek for a little while here. Try the beta out. Make sure, if there's anything in there that's not working. We're gonna be continually diving into everything and trying it out and all that stuff. So that's it. Yeah, first taste is free, dudes. You guys can play around and all that stuff. So That's how it's gonna work. Let's see. Fred, one of these days I'm gonna have to. Well, Fred, we need you. I got to talk to you because we need you to do some really cool. I want to do some awards for the gold and platinum members. I want to do for the beat the dud. I think we should have some cool little wooden medallions or something that random people could win if they beat the dud. I think something like that could be fun. But yeah, I've got to get rolling, dudes. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. Appreciate everyone, and wish me luck bear hunting. So have fun, guys.